Hello guys, welcome to the first episode in our series of where we take long walks and talk about people on the dreamsmp server. I do not currently have any information about the dreamsmp server, and she's going to tell me a character's name, and I've probably barely heard about any of these people except for the big names like Dream, Carl, and Tommy. So think of someone random that I probably wouldn't have thought of. I'm going to give my score on what I think of the person before she gives the analysis and after. So today we're doing Quackity.
Right.
Quackity, I have seen a few videos. I've seen not a lot. No, nothing. Quackity, from what I heard, I'll give it a solid 6. 6. It's probably going to trigger whoever really likes Quackity. I wonder who really likes Quackity.
I would give Quackity an 1,000 out of 10.
All right, cool. Well, let's start. Tell me.
Right.
Start with from what he is to the beginning and what he is now.
So Quackity at the beginning, he wasn't really, I didn't know him as much in the beginning. To me, he was more of a joke, and he really was the only reason. Now that if you actually think about it, he was the only reason that all of this stuff happened. People would blame a million people like Tommy, but if he didn't show up and have George do the election with him, then there would have been no election. Wilbur never would have been involved in this. Schlatt never would have gotten involved. So it literally would have just been Wilbur being a tyrant. Technically Quackity started it all, even though most of it was just him being stubborn. And then I guess it kind of went downhill for him, especially since he teamed up with Schlatt, and he kind of progressed, but almost in it was a mix of a negative and a positive way. His character became more assertive and definitely more serious than he originally started as, but he also was in this very bad situation because he was teamed up and partnered with somebody who was clearly the bad guy, Schlatt, and he ended up doing a lot of good things for the place. He tried to stop taking down the walls, which were there from the beginning of L'Manberg. He tried to stop destroying buildings. He tried to stop Schlatt from, he definitely was not in agreement with the execution of Tubbo. So he definitely wasn't completely on Schlatt's side, but he definitely, he shouldn't have. I think one of the things about him is how incredibly loyal he is, because he hated Schlatt. It's pretty clear that he did not like Schlatt for most of that. But he stuck by him since the entire time, even after he did things he disagreed with. The only time he couldn't stick by Schlatt was whenever it directly affected him, as he tore down the White House that Quackity had built for Schlatt, showing how little he actually cared for Quackity and his feelings and all of that. So it's clear that Quackity is a very loyal character. He gets very serious. And he's just, overall, he ended up being very strong. After he left, he stuck by Pogtopia. He stayed with them, he defended them till the very end, and he stayed strong during it. And then he obviously met his new group of friends, which they called the Feral Boys. And after he ended up being in that group, it kind of ended up him he wasn't as independent as he could have been because he still relied on them, but he ended up making his own country, which he called Mexican L'Manberg. So he clearly was starting to branch out and realize how strong he was, but he never really was by himself. He still had his group of friends because he was still loyal. And he was still making sure that he stuck by these people through everything, including when he stuck by Bad. Even though his friend Bad was getting overtaken and manipulated by the egg that is taking over the whole server and changing him for the worse, Quackity is still trying as hard as he can. And he even blew up the egg in his latest lore, really big lore stream, because of the fact that it's taking over Bad and everything else, and he can't have his best friend be taken over anymore. But the only issue is his loyalty kind of breaks him. It broke him with Schlatt, and now it broke him with Carl and Sapnap because of the fact that they all went off and they built Kanoko Kingdom without him when he was off building a casino for them because he thought that it would be best for them to have this casino that would go with Mexican Lemanberg, when clearly everyone else abandoned him. And so every day, and you know, another thing to add to his loyalty, since the very beginning, since the start of this, he has never really hated Tommy. And then when he joined Pogtopia, he defended Tommy. And he defended Tommy when he got exiled, even though he was on Tubbo's side for like the longest of times. He still defended him through anything that he could. He hated on Tubbo in his decision to exile him and put him into torture through Dream, when clearly it was a bad idea for him to go against Tubbo. Even if nothing big came out of it, going against the president is a big decision. So, and then later on, whenever Tommy was in prison with Dream, Dream kills Tommy, and the only person that actually really was angry was Quackity. And for what reason? There was no reason to be, because him and Tommy, they weren't best friends, but that's how loyal he was and how good of a person he was, that he couldn't stand by and let Dream get away with this just because he was already in prison, and hurting him would continue to be as bad as Dream. No, he knew something bad had to happen, so he took it in his own hands. He took it into his own power and has gone there every single day, has tortured Dream, has given Dream exactly what he did to Tommy. And he doesn't let anyone else walk on him anymore because he's realized that he is strong, he's independent, and clearly he doesn't need the others. And he has been done wrong so many times. And the only mistake I've ever seen him make was when he completely blamed and blew off George for not showing up to the election, which if you go back and watch, George did show up to the election, so I don't know what he was talking about because he literally showed up. So that's kind of the main points of like Quackity's character, and the main thing I see Quackity as is loyal, and he's definitely become a more independent, serious character that really understands himself and his goals. So I don't know. How do you feel about him now?
All right, final thoughts. Obviously, as we know, Quackity is very loyal, but sometimes that loyalty can get him into trouble. But he has been betrayed so many times that he decides to become his own person. So I feel like that's a good character arc for him to go through, how he can't be pushed around anymore. And I have not seen any of the Dream SMP, so I know nothing about this, but I'm going to bump it up from a 6 to an 8. Like, on our way back, whenever we turned around, I was like, I might keep it as a 6, but hearing the ending, it's a solid 8. All right.
I can respect that. I can respect an 8.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.